Good morning and welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. I'm Roth Cornet. This is Dan Murrell.
Hello, hello.
Over to my right, we have the wonderful, the beautiful, the intelligent, the funny, the witty, other words, all the words, biggest words, Roxy Striar.
I don't know if I can live up to any of that
Rocky.
today. Oh, that would be great. Why didn't more people call me Rocky?
Rocky.
Maybe that's why.
Roxy Striar. Spencer's here too.
Hey.
Hey, how you doing? And we're going to talk
Good.
about the entertainment news. Guys, is Disney baiting the spoiler trolls in Infinity War? I say they are, and we'll talk about why. Hey, guess who wasn't? Almost wasn't in one of your favorite movies. I don't know.
The
You'll
shark
have
from
to
Jaws?
stay tuned. Well, the shark from Jaws really
He was almost not in the movie.
Almost
That's
not in the
true.
movie. That's true. And The Walking Dead is going to get a reset. Can the show be saved? Does it need saving? We will talk about all those things and more starting right now. I wish we had like a big explosion graphic.
Yes.
When I did
that
that.
was a really good tease, though.
Thank
I like what
you.
you did. I got excited for the episode.
You did?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
you should stay excited because we're going to do it. We are contractually obligated to do so. The Russo brothers have set a plea to fans not to spoil Infinity War. So this is just like the latest in this ongoing onslaught from Disney to avoid spoilers for Infinity War. They are not showing the movie to the press who's covering the junket. They're only showing little bits of the footage. They're not showing, usually with Disney, they show the movie a couple of weeks in advance and you'll see the reviews come out a couple of weeks in advance. Not so in this case. They are showing it to the press and to the critics the week that the movie opens. So they are really holding everything very close to the vest. They did the same thing with Star Wars, the last two Star Wars films. So is there a link? So they basically had Thanos come out on their Twitter account, the Russo brothers did, and say, "Don't spoil this movie." Quote, "Everyone involved with the film has worked it." Oh shoot!
Nice.
Well, that was a cool
There
explosion.
it is. It's the glove of Thanos.
Yeah. The glove of Thanos. Everyone involved with the film worked incredibly hard for the past 2 years, maintaining the highest level of secrecy. The letter reads, "Only a handful of people know the film's true plot. Blah, blah, blah. Don't spoil it, or else I'm coming at you with my mighty glove of stone." Oh, that was a very apt cut, JTE. Thank you.
Really
Yeah,
on it.
Thanos
Yeah,
is really going to come at you and get you, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing. I have to say, I think they are going to get the exact opposite result of what they are looking for. I think every single person that loves to spoil things on the internet is paying close attention to this because that's what they do. And they are like, great. I cannot wait to see this movie and go on every available Reddit thread and spoil the crap out of it. I feel like this constant barraging about don't spoil it, don't spoil it, don't spoil it is going to absolutely lead to endless spoilers everywhere you go the very first weekend it opens. Dan?
Well, I mean, that was going to happen anyway.
Sure.
I mean, that literally, like, we had to, and this is, I mean, there were always a couple of D-bags around, but in the past few years, starting really with Force Awakens, like even on our YouTube channels, when a movie comes out, we add certain keywords like die, dies, killed, kill, because people will go in the second that the word leaks and start spoiling it on every video that comes out.
It's also
Yeah.
to avoid threats against the person.
That also
inside the
helps.
videos.
That's a nice side effect to filter out the death threats. But you know, that's going to happen anyway. To me, this read as, you know, it's almost kind of hype. It almost reads as kind of like a hype from the Russo brothers and a kind of an understatement. Like, this is not your average film. This is not Doctor Strange. This is not Ant-Man. There's gonna be some big stuff happening in here that we don't want you to spoil. So I kind of read it as it's almost like another signal to the fans that, like, this is not your average movie. And by the way, you need to go see it opening weekend or you're gonna get spoiled.
Yeah, Roxy, question for you, because they also moved the date up, and supposedly we imagine that that's one of the reasons why, is that they didn't want it opening at different times across the world to avoid spoilers. But do you also think, to Dan's point, this is to ensure they have the kind of massive opening that they want?
I definitely think so. I think that the hype is real with this film and that there is going to be spoilers no matter what. We're talking about probably major character deaths. That's probably what they're implying here, and they don't want that to get leaked, but at the same time they're doing it in a fun kind of way. I think they should probably call Mark Ruffalo and make sure he doesn't stream it live
He can
from his
never
pocket.
be. He can't. He's
that
not
should be
allowed
the first,
to leave.
like non-spoiler.
I think they got to tie Ruffalo to the basement.
Yeah,
I love
he
him,
can't
but he
be in
can't
there.
be held.
No,
He
he
and
can't.
Tom Holland, yeah, both of
him
them.
and Tom Holland both. So I think they got to talk to their people first. We're less of a risk, but yeah, I think the people who are going to spoil it. This is not going to change them. They're going to spoil it anyway. I don't think, Roth, that anybody read this and was like, I wasn't planning on spoiling it, but now suck it. Like,
Don't you think it turns up the dial on the desire to get out there and get into those comment threads and spoil things?
Well,
Spencer,
I
you
hate
understand
people.
the minds of the
Maybe.
trolls.
I do. You're appealing to their conscience, which is a mistake.
Yes, I agree.
What do you have to appeal to?
Well, it's
They're dead inside. There's nothing
Nothing.
to it.
That's
I think it sounds nihilistic, but it's true.
yeah, you
free
can't go
things?
through it. You got to come at it from like a tangential place because, again, appealing to their conscience is going to fail. These people are seeking attention and they're seeking a response, and they feel like they get no attention in life, and people don't. They're ignored. These are ignored people, but if you get online and get someone mad, there you go. You had an impact somewhere. So maybe the way to get rid of trolls is just to like value everyone you see. Just be like, I appreciate you. I see you. You matter.
Yeah, that works.
And then they'll
boy.
one day
Isn't that
stop
the nodding?
spoiling. Yeah, I see you. And then, but I really think that this kind of thing is only because like there's something lacking in your life outside of movie spoilers.
Do you know the thing about, just very quickly, the thing about Spencer is that on paper, he seems to be the most cynical one amongst us sometimes, right? But in truth, you're always offering the little gems of how to make the world a better place. Let's just siege. I see you.
Do what I say, not what I do.
Okay. Well, let's not, you're a nice guy. Stop it. Let's not spoil each other, but I also agree with Roxy. Like, this probably does involve massive character deaths. We've speculated about that for a long, long time. But do you also think there's a chance that this, like Star Wars, will be very divisive?
Oh God, I hope not.
I don't think
I can't
so.
do it again. I can't. None of us here can do it again.
They have all of the
Give us
cards
another year.
stacked in their favor. If they can't, if this is an incredibly divisive film, then something went horribly wrong, I think. Because Star Wars had a lot working against it. And Infinity War has everything working for it.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
There's just with Star Wars, when you're rebooting, like they've built up to this point for so long with Infinity War. Star Wars built up to the point for a long time too, but in a completely different way that took decades off. Like it's a different storyline and coming off of what they were coming off of, and Star Wars fans being the most intense fans, I find, even more than Marvel fans by far. I think that they just had a completely different deck. With Infinity War, you're supposed to go in this movie and love it. Like, you're supposed to have your heart broken. You're supposed to be attached to these characters. We've had so long to live with them. And I just feel like, win or lose, I don't think it's going to be as divisive because all the fans going in have been set up in the same way and have the same background base. I mean, probably there will be some people who like it, dislike it. That's even like with the BVS. But for the most part, I think people will be on the same page.
And it's probably unlikely that Captain America is going to seclude himself in Wakanda and, like, Scarlet Witch comes up and he's like, the Avengers are dead. It's time to kill them.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to take that kind of a right turn
never
either,
know.
character-wise. So I
Yeah.
think there are going to be some of the provocative elements, perhaps, that were very inflammatory towards many fans in The Last Jedi that, Marvel at this point. They've cracked the formula, and they don't really look like they're in the same kind of mode that maybe Star Wars is, of like, hey, let's mix it up a little bit. Like, they're in the home stretch at this
Right.
point. I doubt they're going to be like really trying to subvert and take. I think they're just looking to make a great solid movie like they've done many times before.
Are they overselling it, though, a little bit with all of this? I mean, I feel like now my expectations are like, I'm going to be shocked and amazed. And if I see pretty much, like, basically what you guys are saying, what I'm expecting, is that setting fans up for disappointment in another way?
Possibly.
I don't
Fans
know.
are setting themselves up for disappointment.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think the expectations are pretty in line, which is like, this is an Avengers movie. This is the culmination of whatever phase we're in right now, and this is going to be...
4.
4? We're in 4 already?
We're in
Did you
3.
say Thor or 4?
4. 4. 3.
Thor.
I thought we're in 3.
We're heading into 4.
3.
3 and going into 4.
End of 3, beginning of 4.
Yeah, we're going
and
into 4. With Thor.
I think the expectations are
Or
like
without it.
you got to treat these like season finales of a show where it's like, okay, they're gonna tie most of the season-long, the phase-long arcs of the Thanos and the Infinity Stones, and then obviously plant the seed of whatever comes next. So we expect conclusions. We expect climaxes, answers, and that's really all they got to do. They just got to, like every Avengers movie, they just got to wrap things up and then plant the seeds for the next phase.
If you're a fan of these movies, you can't just do yourself a favor. Don't go into every big Star Wars, Marvel, DC, whatever movie expecting the best movie of all time. I think that's part of it. It is the expectation game, and I think that there are a certain slice of fans that go into every big movie thinking this is going to be the best thing of all time, and if it's not, then I am sorely disappointed. And you were just setting yourself up for failure. I mean, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. I mean, that's part of it. And I think that in addition, like, you know, the spoiler thing, like, that's definitely one thing. You definitely want to appeal to the humanity of fans, but I think at the same time, you also have to. It's the answer's inside all of us. You can't go into all of these movies expecting them to be the best thing of all time. And if they are, that's a wonderful surprise.
But given the pedigree and the people involved in the Marvel movie by committee that's happened, you can expect something, you know, from somewhere better than Civil War to somewhere around Age of Ultron. Like, you have a window that's like, I expect something in here.
Yeah.
It's not like you can go into this and be like, I have no idea what's going to happen, because we do.
But
it's an Avengers movie.
Fun, but it's fun. But it is fun to go into a movie and try to relieve yourself of all expectation and just say, like, I'm just going to let this movie do its thing, and I'm going to see, you know, that's kind of what critics have to do, or at least that's kind of the approach that I try to take is, you know, if you relieve yourself of expectation and just go in and watch the movie, a lot of times you'll find yourself pleasantly surprised.
I did not watch the last trailer. Because I was in Berlin securing the documents.
And see The Last Jedi. I was like, wow, damn.
And I actually am now pointedly staying away from, because we're going to see the movie in a week or so. And I would rather just go in and see whatever this movie is and not be trying to. I feel like in this job, so much of the time you're trying to get ahead of it and figure out what the story is and break things down to the point that you can really kind of like dilute the experience for yourself. So I'm taking this opportunity not to do that. All right, words of wisdom from us. I see you. The answer is within you.
I got nothing.
Beginner's mind.
There's going to be some quips. There's going to be some fighting. There's going to be some gems. Come on.
And
we all know what we're getting.
A bunch of people are probably going to die.
Yeah, someone's going to die.
Somebody's going to die. The first Avengers movie could have been a very different movie. This has come out in an interview with THR. Zach Penn, who wrote the script, said Thor's role was originally very reduced because he actually just didn't believe in the character. He didn't believe that it was going to work, and then he met Hemsworth, and he saw the first Thor movie, and he says, quote, I remember Chris Hemsworth walking through the Marvel offices and being, quote, oh my God, that guy is Thor. Adding, originally, I was trying to reduce how much Thor was in the Avengers. Once it was clear that no, this was going to work and we're excited about it, then I did not do that and I stopped doing that. I don't know, have you guys ever been in an interviewed Chris Hemsworth? Have you ever seen him?
No.
Have you? No.
Yeah. And yeah. That's the response.
Like when he walks in the room,
it's like staring at the sun. It's so crazy. I just quick anecdote. I think I don't know if I've told this one. I'm sorry. I'm getting old. But I got to be on the set of Ultron, and one of the things that we were watching was a fight between Vision and Thor. And so at first it was Chris Hemsworth's stunt double with Paul Bettany, and then they switched. And Hemsworth was like double the size of his stunt double. Like, that never happens, ever.
Yeah. Seems like bad stunt doubling.
Yeah, right.
He's so massive, they couldn't even find a stuntman to match the pure might. Anyway, Jeff Goldblum, speaking of pure might and personality, almost, and this would have been a true tragedy, in my opinion, was not in Jurassic Park. What? That's insane. In an interview with Vanity, it is. Come on, that's not the same movie without
Please
Jeff
explain
Goldblum.
what happened.
In an interview with Vanity Fair, he said he was reading the Michael Crichton book, and he said, "Ian Malcolm, wow, don't do it, Jeff. Good. You know what,
really
Dan?
good.
Read this quote
Ooh,
in your best Jeff Goldblum."
Ian Malcolm, wow, smart. I don't do Goldblum. It's not one of my people. I don't know.
We're both doing
so
Mark
well,
Wahlberg.
guys.
We're both doing
well.
both.
Smart, funny, interesting character. Spielberg was so nice, but he said, there's a sort of a movement afoot. To have that part removed from the script. So since we've had this meeting, there's this little wrinkle that may render this moot. I kind of said, well, gee. I felt moved to advocate for my inclusion. Goldblum finds a way.
Yeah.
He didn't say that. That would be really egotistical for him to say.
That would be
Goldblum finds a way.
If you end every sentence with that. Goldblum
That would be a
finds way.
much different movie, though.
A much worse movie.
Much not as good. No.
Yeah, because they were gonna take the character of Ian Malcolm out.
Yeah, completely.
Because I was thinking, okay, well, like you could get another quirky actor to be that part. Obviously, now it's so iconic and so associated with Goldblum, but we wouldn't know in this dark alternate timeline.
It's gotta be
what we missed out on.
So challenging to advocate for your inclusion when you are that person, because it's like, how do you say, no, seriously, I think this is for the betterment of the script? It's like, no, you probably think this is better for your career, but it's like, if it's both and you feel like you have to advocate for the film, then you have to do that. But it's probably so hard to listen to somebody be like, I need to be in this.
I don't think too many actors are shy about like advocating for them to get more lines, and, like be in the script.
That's exactly what I'm saying, but not for the betterment of the film.
Right.
And this is because it made the movie better.
Yeah, it did, but I think to Spencer's point, I would narrate a movie star is like so humble that they're like, oh, you don't need me. You know?
Yeah.
No,
It's better for the film if you take away some of my lines.
100%, but this happened to be both. Like most actors who are like, I need more time on screen, I need more lines, it actually would make the film worse. But this is like, hey guys, I have to advocate for my inclusion because like without me, this isn't going to look so good.
Yeah.
This is, to me, honestly, this is one of those cases that I don't agree with you. I feel like that was a perfect marriage of actor and character, and it would have been like that horrible dark timeline Back to the Future without Michael J. Fox. We've all seen that. Come on.
Poor guy. Eric Stoltz.
Eric Stoltz is a great. He was.
I don't hate on that.
I love Eric Stoltz, but not as that character. That's the point. Come on.
That's a great interview, by the way. If you haven't seen it, it's online. It's a video interview, and I was showing Spencer a clip from it because it's Goldblum just for 10 minutes, just talking about all his filmography. And it's what's amazing about it is it's 90% just Jeff Goldblum, like very casually discussing things, but then like 10% of it, he'll just go into crazy Jeff Goldblum land. And so like he's talking about Independence Day. He's like, he was like, oh, I love doing the movie, and then I got lucky enough to get a cast. It's like, what just happened to you? Like he goes, his brain beams to Mars, and he
like a little
becomes
acid
like
trip, like his backpack, and he's like, ooh.
he just goes somewhere for a few seconds, and then he's like back to Goldblum. I think you just read like just search Vanity Fair Jeff Goldblum on YouTube. It's a really interesting video, all the way back to Annie Hall and through Wes Anderson.
What does he say about The Fly?
He talks about the makeup, and he talks about he liked the character, and it was good. You know, he talks about Wes Anderson. He literally recorded for like 30 minutes, and I very much recommend that interview if you can find it.
Well, on this week's show, Dan and I are going to both work on it separately. We'll go and work on a Jeff Goldblum, and
bring him back for show and tell.
I feel like
Come
you
back
should
and
have
do
signed
that
it
for
to
you.
Spencer. I just am
You
feeling
do?
that vibe.
All right.
I could go into the lab, come back with a Goldblum.
You want to come back with a Goldblum?
Yeah, we'll all do it.
I have faith in you guys
all right.
as well, but I really have some faith in Spenny G.
I feel like you maybe have more faith in Spenny.
Honestly, in this particular instance, I kind of do. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there, but it's all love.
Well, we already have Mark Wahlberg.
Don't let me down.
So,
Just all week.
fine, Roxy. Other cases where we almost had a very different movie. Loki obviously was meant to have a far reduced role in the dark world, and audiences were like, we like that. Yo, Loki.
Oh, yeah.
Bring on that Loki.
Yeah.
Jack from Lost, did you guys know about this? Was originally supposed to be Michael Keaton and die. Of course, he was recast and then became the star of the show. Kate was actually going to be more of the character that Jack became. Jesse from Breaking Bad famously was going to be killed very early on, and then they were like, nope, we like him. And he makes Walton Goggins. Did you guys watch Justified?
No, you're good things.
Yeah.
It's a really good show, and the best part of the show is Walton Goggins, who was only supposed to be part of the pilot and then basically became the co-lead of the show, rightfully so, because he's amazing in it. Drea DiMatteo from The Sopranos was supposed to also be a very small part, ended up getting expanded. And this one I didn't know. Billy pulled up this one. Urkel from Family Matters was supposed to be only in a handful of episodes, ended up taking over the show.
Become the Urkel show.
Did he do that?
Yes, he did.
But oh yeah.
Poor Reginald VelJohnson.
Yeah.
He had a great family show centered around him. He was the star.
And then-
it was about him and Harriet, and then effing Urkel.
Yeah.
Man.
The neighbor's kid.
The neighbor kid takes over the show, and he's
Creeping on my daughter.
making robots and cloning himself and making him into Stefan Urkel. And Reginald Val Johnson. At some point, his show was just like,
Yeah.
my show.
There was a little dissension on the set. Billy was telling me this morning, and what was the actress's name? Jo Marie Payton quit.
Harriet quit
Harriet.
the last season.
Yeah.
Like 8 to go because she was tired of the Urkel show.
So if you didn't hear that, Harriet quit in the last season because she
that's
was like, "This
about
was
when I
supposed to be
quit."
about this family. It's now about Steve Urkel. I'm done." But it's a little weird to quit like before 8 episodes till the conclusion.
It
that was
got
probably
so
like-
much. Do you remember? Like towards the end, it was like I'm done
I did
with
not
Urkel.
watch Family Matters.
They were going to Disney World
Yeah,
with
it-
Stefan Urkel, and it was a whole.
We
yeah.
were done.
And then
We
he
were
played his
done.
cousin Myra in drag.
Yes,
Oh man,
it got
God.
so weird and no longer fun.
All right.
Family Matters is a spinoff. A lot of people don't know that.
Of what?
Perfect Strangers.
Oh.
Really?
Harriet was a character in Perfect Strangers, and then they spun off Family Matters.
Wow.
She was the elevator operator. Yeah.
Oh.
And they spun off Family Matters.
Soon coming to you, television shows that you did not know were spinoffs. We'll do a thing on that.
List of one.
There's a bunch actually that were spinoffs that people probably forget were. Could Walking Dead new showrunner save it? Don't. Where's my explosion? God damn it. All right. So if you guys don't know about this, Scott M. Gimple, who has been the showrunner for the past couple of years on The Walking Dead, is making way for Angela Kang, who will come in and be the showrunner. She's been a writer on the show, a staff writer on the show for many years. In speaking to fandom, Greg Nicotero said his aim was to recapture the magic of season 4 and season 5, that vibe. Here's his quote. Angela's been with us since season 2. She's been one of our key writers. Angela's been had a very clear vision for the show, and she's a great voice. She's got a unique voice. Looking back at where our show succeeds the most in terms of the characters that have the best chemistry together in the locations that worked well, it's always kind of nice to be on the road a little bit. Anytime we're sort of situated in one place for too long, ...
Season 2.
I feel like this show is kind of morphing back into a season 4 and season 5 kind of vibe. Now, Roxy, this is your favorite show, or one of them.
It's a show that I absolutely adore, and I feel like it's been so crazy to go on this journey where nobody else does anymore. Like when I started this journey, it was a cool thing to love The Walking Dead, and now it's like I feel ostracized at the lunch table when people are like, "Ooh, you like that show?" It has definitely changed directions, and I think that they're going to have a very hard time getting people back on board who have fallen overboard, or no longer on the ship or the boat.
They just
Or the
generally,
farm.
they're drowning in the ocean.
Yeah, they're drowning in the ocean.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to have a hard time getting people back because they've lost faith for so many seasons. And if you don't like the direction they've gone in, I really don't know if you're going to like the future. We've also strayed so far from the comics at this point that those fans are pissed. So going back to season 4, 5 vibes, I don't know how you would even attempt to do that at this point.
What do you think that even means, though, going back to season 4, season 5?
I don't know because, I mean, spoiler alert, but seemingly what's going to happen is that they're not going to kill Negan, who's still around, and they're going to have him as again, spoiler alert, as a little pet and keep him as a slave. Like, that is probably what's going to happen, which would keep them stationary for a while, I think. And this whole thing is saying that they have to be on the go. If that's the part of season 4 and 5 they're referring to, just the wandering, traveling thing, I'm not particularly on board for that. We've done that. We've gone everywhere.
God,
Where else
have
are we
we done
going?
Well, there's
You've really
only
gone
two choices.
everywhere
You can
within Atlanta.
Yeah, you can't. You can be on the road, or you can be at a compound, and like this is just the circle of Walking Dead life. Is they are on the road, then they find a compound, and it's overrun, and they go on the
Right.
road to find a new compound. Like, we get it by now.
But I feel like that's not even the direction they're going in. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what they do. And you're right. You can't, for an entire season, stay in one place. However, how is that different than this season? They've not stayed in one place this season. They do try to figure it out, and it just doesn't really make sense to me. I'm excited for the next season because I like all the seasons. I love the show. I don't think anybody who is already not excited will be excited by this.
I can't quit.
Speak for that audience.
I can't quit it. I keep saying I'm going to
Wish
quit
I could
watching
quit.
it, and I still watch it. And well, first of season 5 for me was when it started going wrong, Because if you have, again, spoilers, if you haven't seen season 5 was the episodes long quest for Beth. Beth's been kidnapped. Beth's in a hospital. Beth, we got to go get Beth. We're on the road to get Beth. Here, okay, we found Beth. Beth died.
And
Okay.
ended
It's
up on the
also the
Flash.
quest for Beth to find opportunities to sing.
Yeah, so that for me, that was the first big storyline they did, and we got to the end of it, and I'm like, that's it? Like, this whole thing was meaningless? It was just it seemed like a complete waste of time. And not only did she die, her death didn't really show me now how Beth's death has affected anything on that show. That's the other thing, is like everything that happens on that show, it seems like, is forgotten within half of a season. And it's like a soap opera. That's what's frustrating me. It's like a soap opera. Rick is currently in the midst of his 4th mental breakdown. Morgan saved Rick, then Morgan was crazy, then Morgan is good,
Morgan's
and now Morgan
annoying
is crazy.
AF.
Back and forth. Like, Carol wants to be with the group, Carol wants to be by alone. Carol wants to be with the group, Carol's by herself. Carol wants to be with it's back and forth. It's like everyone in the show goes back and forth. And this and then
Carol
back,
needs
and
to
then
save the
back,
child.
and this.
Carol doesn't save the child.
It's-
Carol does save
it's
the
just
child.
it's
Hey,
everything
Roxy.
is
Love
just
it.
in
Defend
an
it.
endless cycle of repetition, and that's what annoys me, is just like, go somewhere with this thing. But that's the problem with the concept of the show, and why it works, I think, better as a comic book than a show. There's nowhere to go with this concept. The world is dead. There's no saving it. So it's like you said, you're either on the road or you're hunkered down in a compound somewhere, but in the middle, what's
Was it
left?
season 4 that we thought that we potentially could find a cure? Was that season 4?
Gene
where
said-
I don't think
Eugene
anybody.
said that
Eugene said that.
No, right.
could
But we knew he
go-
was lying.
yeah.
No, we knew he was lying, but was that season 4? Do you think they could be referring to, like, possibly trying to figure out zombieism?
No.
Okay. Cool.
This is the problem.
Good talk.
It's just a problem with American television broadly, where it's like you keep going until you're canceled. You
Yeah.
don't build towards an end date, except for very rare instances.
And they
like
still have a lot of
Breaking Bad and
fans.
stuff like that. And they still have tons of fans. So they're
Yeah.
going to keep going until people abandon the show. So from a writing
they are.
perspective, you can't make too many departures or changes from the formula because you don't know if you'll even be back the next year.
Can I give you my pitch?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
So, the ratings have massively declined. They really have. They have taken a nosedive over the last couple of seasons. They're at a season 1 low. Which, having said that, caveat to that is that though those ratings have declined massively, they're still pretty good ratings to our cable network.
Yeah.
Asterisk to that. There are 2 massive lawsuits happening about The Walking Dead against AMC. And so they are going to eventually have to settle and pay out millions of dollars in those lawsuits. Will that impact how long the show lasts? I don't know. If it can't turn around, if they don't see a huge rating spike, I have to wonder if that will have an impact. But story-wise, this is where they blew it, in my opinion. Okay, I got excited in Alexandria when it looked like Rick was going to go the way of Negan. And I am prepared to be yelled at on this one, and I don't care.
Do you mean
This would have
Negan
been-
was going to kill Rick or
no,
go
no,
the
no,
way
no,
as
no,
in...
no. This is what I mean. It looked to me for a minute that Rick was going to break bad. That Negan hadn't been introduced yet. I don't think, and again, I'm going to be yelled at by purists on this, I don't necessarily think with adaptations you should stay married to the source material, because that exists and it's great and we get to enjoy it. But if you can do something different that would elevate and excite what you're currently doing in the medium that you're in, why not do that? And I looked to me for a minute, especially when Rick killed the husband. And again, we've said spoilers 20 times, but if they didn't introduce Negan and instead had Rick turn into that kind of character, so that you as the audience were on this journey where you thought you were watching the story of a hero, and instead you were watching the story of the evolution of a villain. And when you saw him break, he really effing broke.
This past episode was the first time I actually felt that way about him, where you see him give his word, spoilers, promise something, and then slaughter everybody. Like, it was insane. And I felt like I wasn't where you were when you were there, and now I kind of am where you are, where it's like, all right, if we're going to play this whole storyline up, like he's lost his son, and Morgan saying the only reason he ever was good because he had a son and now he's not. If the only thing you have is your sons and without them you're bad, I could get on board with that.
I
But
think that's
they
an
did this with
interesting.
Lori.
Well,
They did the same thing with he had his wife and then he lost his wife and now he's crazy and what's Rick gonna do?
was
He's gonna
5
go over the
seasons ago.
edge.
But I feel like the times that the show where I was really on board with it was when they took a character in a direction that you did not necessarily. And I'm not saying the problem with The Walking Dead largely in terms of the writing is that they've let the plot drive the characters and not the other way around. The characters act in a way that is convenient to the plot, episode by episode, and it is constantly changing. They do not commit. However, the times that they have had the most success is when they have had a character have a massive change, but it makes sense. So Carol, going from the sort of meek, battered woman that she was in the beginning of the show to becoming the woman that she was, because it was still coming from that same place within her. She lost her kid. She still had a strong mothering instinct, but this mothering instinct said any threat to anyone I care about is going to die because that's the world we're in. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
Go look at those damn flowers. I loved that. I loved that with Carol, and I loved the idea that Rick was going to become, in essence, who everyone believed Negan was, that we were going to have to watch this person that we thought was so good become a monster, really witness it, instead of in flashbacks with the governor. And then if you need to have a hero on the show, that's fine because it's television, whatever. Have Daryl step up to the frickin' plate.
America's sweetheart Daryl.
America's sweetheart Daryl
sweet
is
boy
right
Daryl.
there for you, for the two of them to have an all-out war. And
Or
now,
don't kill Carl, bring Carl back and have him be the hero.
and now
Daryl
there's
has done
stakes.
nothing of
But
consequence
then
in
there's
2
stakes.
years.
Then there's stakes because it's two people in a war that you care about, that you know, that
All
you
right.
don't want to see die.
I want to see your version of the show.
Well,
I'm in.
that's
Remember how much people used to love Daryl? Remember
Yeah.
how big of a deal Daryl was? Daryl,
Merchandise-wise.
it's like a glorified extra at this point. He's just there.
On his
I
bike.
couldn't tell you one thing that Daryl has done in a season and a half other than go do a thing that literally anyone else on the show could have done. That's the thing is they had these great characters and they've completely lost any sense of tracking them or characterization or just what is their arc, what is it? It's just
he just has vendettas
resets.
now and just talks about them and then mopes.
Yeah, it resets every half a season, and that's
In a
the
good
best thing this show could do right now is to set an end date and say there's 2 more seasons. Great.
But
People
how
will
is
start
it going to
watching.
end?
People will start. I don't know, but they need to start figuring it out because if people know that it's going to end, then people will come back. It's well, it's going to end. But I think the reason that people are leaving right now is because they're catching on to the fact that this show is endless, and you will never get resolution to anything beyond what is the 8-episode arc of this season. They've got to get back to some semblance of what is this show about? Because I don't know, and I watch it every week.
It's about the end of the world. I mean, and that's the thing that I've always said about The Walking Dead is to your point, there's no happy ending. They don't find a cure. Everyone dies. Everyone becomes a zombie, and then eventually the earth is just dead and ridden with
about
zombies, and then they
humanity.
fall apart, and that's it.
And
It's
love.
the end of the fucking world, slowly.
family,
and
trust, people.
I don't know. I stopped watching after season 3. So
Anyway, those are our, it's about those themes, but they need to
feelings.
find ways to explore those themes. And this is when I think actors get too involved in storytelling is I'm sure that he does not want to become a villain. Not really, because a villain has an endpoint, but that's a much more interesting thing to play. If I were an actor, I'd be great. Who would expect that?
I don't know. I think Andrew Lincoln probably at this point is I can get cast in a lot of things.
No,
Maybe I do want to become a
Actually,
villain.
can he? Let me bring up the Friends example. Billy and I were talking about this the other day. As massive of a hit as The Walking Dead is, the person that is poised right now to break out is Denai Guerrera. That's it. Who else is doing anything? Who else is doing anything elsewhere?
Andrew Lincoln had a career pre-Walking Dead.
He had a career, but not not
He's in the
one
best
of
Christmas
who's
movie
the
of all
Jennifer
time.
Aniston of the walk. It's going to be Denai.
I don't think there can just be one. And also, there were 6 characters on Friends. There's 7,000 characters on The Walking Dead.
Well, we've had
And
the
same
Punisher.
thing with what is Maggie's name? She
Oh, yes.
Whatever her name is.
Lauren Cohen.
Lauren
Lauren
Cohen.
Cohen.
Thank
She
you.
was
I think
in the Boy.
and in the DCEU or whatever we call it these days, she I think could be a big star one day He's a big star.
But what?
A lot of them.
None of them are doing big movies except for Denai Guerrero, who was just in Black Panther. None of them are doing big movies. I mean, how many episodes do they shoot a season? None of them are doing things outside of it. It's really weird.
And they're only in half of the ones.
You know what I mean?
Maybe
It's
they're
like just
making
really
enough
weird.
money right now that they're like, I don't really want to work
Negan is
elsewhere.
in. He's
Lauren
in
Cohen
Rampage
wasn't.
Jeffrey
playing
Dean
Negan.
Morgan.
Apparently, have
Yeah.
you seen the theaters? He's like, well, you got a gorilla here. Like, did you stay in the character for a different movie in the same character that you played in? Okay.
Going after
he
the
looks the
also a
same. He's got the
DCU
same
guy.
beard. It's like, all right, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, right?
Yep.
The comedian. Good
Well,
Watchmen.
we promise to never ask you guys to look at the flowers. No? Did we make that promise, all of us?
I think so.
I think we should review the wisdom of the day. I see you. The answer's inside of you.
Man.
And then Roxy to me is a
giving
walking
wisdom.
piece of wisdom, which
true.
says be yourself, own
Yeah.
yourself and your point of view.
Unless you suck, and then just stay away from social media. I don't want to hear from you.
Don't at me.
Go away.
Only at with love.
I concur. I think that's the end.
Oh,
I like
cool.
that.